William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We want to thank you all for being here. And I do know we have a few dignitaries who've joined us today. Dallas County Schools Trustee Omar Narvaez is here. Yeah. Our esteemed state representative, Mr. Rafael Anchia, is here. Staff from the Latino Center for Leadership Development is also here. I'd like to introduce each of them. They played a critical role in today happening and in-state tuition being preserved as well. So our Director of Communications, Cristina Duranga, is here. Director of Government Affairs, Rebecca Acuña, is here. Director of Community Affairs, Mr. Ramiro Luna, is here. And our founder, Jorge Baldor, is here as well. And there are many volunteers who are also here who played a critical role in making sure that we can preserve in-state tuition. So let's give our volunteers a round of applause. And last but not least, the star of the program, the Dreamers. Yeah. My name is Miguel Solis, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Latino Center for Leadership Development, and I serve on the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees as well. And I want to start very quickly with the story. In the early 1900s, a woman by the name of Emilia Diaz de Leon came to America in search of a dream, in search of the American dream. She was from Ojuanos, Jalisco, a little town in Mexico. And her family told her, you go to America, big things can happen for you. And they did. They happened for her son, Esteban Solis, and they happened for me, Miguel Solis. Emilia was my grandmother, my abuelita, and she told me, in America, anything is possible. And that story seems unique, but it's not. It is a common story, it's an American story, and it's the story of 21st century immigration now. More and more children are coming to our country and are asking for help. They're asking for support, and they're asking for the American dream to be as real for them as it was for me and Esteban and Emilia. The Latino Center for Leadership Development was formed because we know that Latinos are going to play and are already playing a significant role in our state and in our nation. By 2050, Latino workers will outnumber all other workers in Texas by 3-1. In Dallas alone, Latinos represent 43% of our population, and that number is only growing. And so the Latino Center for Leadership Development was formed because we believe that the next generation of Latino leaders, the millennial generation, has a role to play in leading. There are other statistics that are disheartening. For instance, we currently on the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees have 2 Latinos out of 9. And yet, out of 160,000 students, 72% are Latino. The City Council, we have 15 City Council members, including the mayor, 2 are Latino. The numbers are weak, but the population numbers are strong. So the Latino Center for Leadership Development aims to do 3 things. The first is to create a leadership academy, which we will launch in September. Focus on cultivating the next generation of leaders in the areas of policy, appointed, and elected office. We are also creating a policy institute because we believe that leaders have to be substantive as well. And so we will create policies and research that we will disseminate to the community as it pertains to the Latino experience in society. And finally, we will continue to create a set of strategic initiatives that will highlight issues that impact Latinos. Our first strategic initiative was an initiative called KeepHB1403.com. It was an effort to try to bring together a broad coalition of individuals, lawmakers, other politicians, dreamers to show that in-state tuition matters for Texas. We made a moral and a social argument, but we also made an economic argument. It matters. The children, the young adults standing behind me matter for the future of Texas. And I'm happy to announce that in-state tuition for Texas Dreamers has indeed been preserved. The effort to maintain the law wasn't easy. It was full of ups and downs, but ultimately, a set of level-headed legislators who were driven by an acknowledgement of the positive impact Dreamers are having on our state and our nation came together to keep HB 1403, and the Dreamers were yet again victorious. Congratulations. For the rest of today's conference, we are going to lay out how that happened, why that happened. And we will hear from State Representative Manchia about the legislative process and the efforts that he also did, and he should be commended for his efforts. You will hear from Ramiro Luna about the efforts of the Dreamers and why Dreamers fought so hard to preserve in-state tuition. You'll hear from Cristina Uranga about the communication strategy the Latino Center for Leadership Development used to bring awareness to the issue. And then finally, you'll hear from our founder, Jorge Baldor, who will tell you about the future of the Latino Center for Leadership Development and the future of the Latino population in North Texas. So thank you all for being here, and I'll pass it over to my good friend and a champion of the Dreamers, Rafael Manchia.
Thank you, Miguel. Son tardes, buenas tardes, ¿no? Casi ni me doy la idea porque estoy recién llegado de Austin, Texas. Yesterday, we celebrated the last day of the legislative session, and it is we celebrated by making a motion to stop all legislative activity, and it's a motion to sine die. Sine die is a Latin term. I like the last part of that Latin term because die in English is exactly what the 1403 repeal did. It died this session. They say that failure is an orphan, but victory has many husbands and many wives, and there are many people who can take credit for this victory. If I can take you back to the beginning of the session, actually the election season, you had an incoming lieutenant governor who campaigned on 1403 repeal. You had a new incoming governor that said if 1403 repeal came to his desk, he would absolutely sign it. You had a legislature full of new Tea Party members who all campaigned on 1403 repeal, who said that there was an invasion from Mexico, that we had an insecure border, and that we're suddenly blaming everything on either President Obama or the Dreamers. They were responsible for everything that was wrong. And so we braced ourselves early in the session. I'm a member of the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus, and we were looking for allies. So we assembled a coalition of the faith community and the business community, and then advocacy groups like the Latino Center that were front row center on raising consciousness on 1403. And the Dreamers, they helped focus the Dreamers on our common goal of keeping this legislation bottled up. So we did our work in the inside game, but the outside game was dominated really by the Dreamers when they would come and they would rally. They would come and sit in front of the governor's office and ask him to oppose the 1403 repeal and to withdraw the DACA and DAPA litigation that Governor Abbott initiated. They were really the voices that needed to be heard in the legislature. And every time I would talk to a legislator who said, listen, this is a matter of the rule of law, all right? We cannot reward lawbreakers. I said, spend a moment with a Dreamer and tell me if this is a lawbreaker or if this is a Texan without status who is going to be the future of this state. And it wasn't me who killed this bill. It was the stories that you see represented behind me. These young people would come into representative's office and calmly and rationally witness their individual story. And that's what killed the bill. That's what got people's attention. And at the end of the session, there was a great moment at one of the press conferences where Dreamers walked up with a $51 million check. It was a very large, oversized check. And many of the members of the legislature didn't understand what the symbolism was of that check. And we had to explain to them that being a 1403 student and a Dreamer is not a full ride. People have to work hard, play by the rules, earn their way, and guess what? Pay tuition. And that $51 million check that the Dreamers brought up to the front steps of the Capitol is what they contribute financially to the state budget every biennium, actually every year. And so that explains to people that these are young people who are ready to work, ready to contribute, who have been working, who have been contributing, and we could not pull the American dream and the Texas dream out from under them. So it really was a broad-based coalition. A lot of people can take credit for this. I work the inside, but these young people and their mommies and their papis and abuelitas and abuelitos who also came down to support them, their teachers, their ROTC commanders who came to support them down in the legislature made a big impact, and we were able to carry the day. But as Winston Churchill said, this is not the end nor the beginning of the end, but this is just the end of the beginning. And there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm so pleased that Jorge Baldor, Miguel Solis, and the Latino Center for Leadership Development is beginning the process of more fully integrating young Latinos into government, politics, and the business community, and it's going to start here. As President Kennedy said, things don't just happen, people make them happen. And it is the people in this room that have put their time, attention, and money behind this effort and will yield benefits. When Miguel was talking about his experience on the school board, I was thinking back to when I got elected to the school board in 2001. Many of you in this room were helpful to me. And I was the only Latino back in 2001. And I know that when Miguel got elected in 2013, you were the only Latino on the school board. So as much as we feel like things are changing, they're not changing rapidly enough. We need to be agents of change and catalysts in creating opportunities for these young people and changing the face of Dallas. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Anchilla. Now we'll hear from Ramiro Luna, who is himself a Dreamer, and again, our Director of Community Affairs. Ramiro put his heart and soul into keephb1403.com, and he's going to share a little bit about the work of the Dreamers along the way.
Good afternoon. My name is Ramiro Luna. I'm the Director of Community Affairs for Latino Center for Leadership and Development. And we're gathered here in this joyous occasion as we celebrate opportunity, equality, education. Because at the heart of it, that's what HB 1403 was all about. Opportunity, equality, and education for these students who are Texans by their every single right. This bill doesn't only just say in-state tuition. By preserving in-state tuition, it gives us an opportunity to have a fair chance to pursue our dreams, to live the obstacles of our aspirations, and to make us realize and make us reaffirm our belief that we're Texan enough to be treated with equality. We're glad to say that we were able to preserve in-state tuition, and as Keep HB 1403, I was proud that we were there at every single step in which HB 1403 was jeopardized. On the first day of the legislative session, we had over 150 Dreamers gathered in front of the steps of the Capitol to cry for in-state tuition, to rally for the preservation of it, and to lobby to make aware of the Congress, the legislators, the importance of it. Whenever there was the subcommittee hearing, we made sure our voice was heard. We took 24 students from North Texas that took part in over 150 testimonies that were given in favor of in-state tuition. And it's easier said than done. In order for us to partake in this subcommittee hearing, these students had to wake up at 5 in the morning, leave Dallas at 7, stay there for over 10 hours, and then make their way back that very same night. A 22-hour effort, but they still stood their ground. They spoke with conviction, and they let their voice heard. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough for the subcommittee, and it passed. It was put on the intent calendar. Whenever that happened, we held a press conference to show that the support that we have was not just because of the dreamers that saw it as being important, but because of the allies that realized the importance that it had to the state of Texas. So we had members of the Republican Party and the Texas Business Association to join our voice and make sure that we had a stronger message. Unfortunately, they wanted to put in the intent calendar one more time. Whenever that happened, we once again lobbied, and we made sure that we knocked on enough doors, and we didn't leave the Capitol until we were reassured that it was taken off once again. We were there at every single step, but make no mistake, the Latino Center for Leadership Development and HB 1403 was never there alone. I want to take the time to pay tribute and acknowledge the allied organizations that stood with us. We have members from LULAC, we have members from the North Texas Dream Team, we have members from United We Dream, we have members from Texas Organizing Project, we even have members all the way from College Station CMSA who are joining us this afternoon. This shows the diversity that we have, and that united we have the power to make sure that we are finally heard. We're going to continue to fight for in-state tuition, and as we evolve in our efforts, we want to make sure that just as much as we fought to preserve in-state tuition, that students are also taking advantage of this right that we fought so hard to preserve. In-state tuition gives it worth because of the students who are going to qualify and apply for it. So we're going to make sure that people are aware that they're able to apply and go to college and pay in-state tuition. We want to make sure that we increase the number of documented eligible students that we're able to go through the process. And we're going to continue to make sure that anytime there is a risk or our undocumented community is jeopardized, we stay there and we rally for them. I'll close with this. The opportunity that you give to dreamers is the opportunity that you give to Texas. The benefit that a dreamer can have is something that we cannot imagine, because that is what we are. We are dreamers. We're not confined by reality. We defy reality. We allow ourselves to know that we have dreams larger than the expectations that some of us may have on our community. We have dreams that are so more powerful than what we can imagine at times. Their liberty is the freedom that Texas is going to be benefiting from. Their efforts are going to be what's going to bring Texas to the next stage. We are the architects of tomorrow. Anything that can hamper our ability will hamper the ability for Texas to prosper. Thank you.
Next, we're going to bring up our Director of Communications, Cristina Uranga, who did a phenomenal job throughout the session, making sure that we got our information out there. And I also want to take the time to thank the many journalists who took it upon themselves to cover this issue. Were it not for you telling the story of the dreamers, were it not for you saying this issue matters for the state of Texas and for our nation, this story wouldn't have been told. So thank you to the journalists, and Cristina is going to come up and tell us a little bit about her efforts. Thank you, Cristina.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. As Miguel said, my name is Cristina Uranga. I'm the Director of Communications, and I did want to welcome all my fellow journalists here in the room joining us today. I want to briefly share with you the communications strategy that we used so that we could relay this time-sensitive information to reach our stakeholders. We leveraged different communication vehicles such as newsletters, Facebook, Twitter, We also made personal phone calls and, of course, the media. We wanted to make sure we emphasized the critical importance of getting involved and everyone reaching out to their state representatives and sharing their personal stories of how HB 1403 positively impacted their lives. But for some people, they didn't know where to begin. They didn't really know who their representative was. So we provided a link that gave out that information based on your home address. And it was very comforting and at the same time exciting to see how many individuals for the first time got to learn about their neighborhood, their communities, and their elected officials. We also use storytelling as the most compelling messaging, and we co-created this with our stakeholders. Students from around Texas shared their stories on our website, keephb1403.com, and we photojournaled our several visits to Austin to add context to the stories. And, by the way, Smile, you're on camera. I have my current intern helping out, taking pictures, and so this process continues. We continue to photojournal all of our experiences, and we continue to share them out. Speaking of these visits to Austin, the Latino CLD gathered a group of students from North Texas, many, again, joining us here today to attend the hearing of Senate Bill 1819. I'm very grateful for the media support we received on that day. It was a very rainy day. And all these media's TV network affiliates showed up and did live coverage. And once again, the student stories were broadcasted to many homes. And within hours, we were receiving phone calls from various individuals and businesses who were signing on to our petition of keeping HB 1403. On a different trip, as Ramiro already mentioned, we hosted a press conference on the south side steps of the Capitol and leveraged our good relations with state representatives in support of keeping HB 1403, as well as inviting our apolitical advisor, Dr. Juan Hernandez, as the keynote speaker during that press conference. Throughout the legislative session, Latino CLD kept everyone informed with up-to-the-minute email blasts. We figured if the legislature doesn't sleep, we won't sleep. We were ready to send out on time information so that we could take action immediately. And from the looks of it, we succeeded. To continue this ongoing conversation, we ask that you fill out one of these contact cards that we have at the check-in table. This will enable us to continue in touch with you, add you to our mailing list, and also please follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Latino CLD. Thank you.
Before I bring up our final speaker today, our founder, Jorge Baldor, I want to read a quote because I think it sums up who Jorge is and the impact that he has had on our community. It's a quote by Robert F. Kennedy, and it says, "The purpose of life is to contribute in some way to making things better." Jorge did not have to create the Latino Center for Leadership Development. He didn't have to create Keep HB 1403, but he did it because he wanted to make a difference in the lives of Latinos and in the lives of the Dreamers. And I'll share just a quick story. When he came to me with the idea of preserving in-state tuition and making it an issue, bringing it to the forefront and talking about it, I initially hesitated. I said, George, why would we bring up an issue that we don't want to talk about? Why would you bring up an issue to give it more weight? Why would you empower the Tea Party by making this a media issue? And he said, Miguel, we're going to do it because it matters, because this is a serious threat. We're going to do it because these Dreamers' voices needed to be heard, and they need to realize that when they act, when they step up, anything is possible. And we need to do it because we're going to win. So he created keephb1403.com, and he co-founded the Latino Center for Leadership Development with me. And Jorge is going to come up and close and let you know about the future of our organization and the future of Latinos in our community. So George, please come.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone being here this afternoon. Before I get started, I want to really take a moment to thank Representative Gia. He was actually there at the very beginning, inspired what we're doing along the way, every step. He's been very supportive, and not just on the public front, from the legislative side, but on a personal level. He's always been very supportive, and we really appreciate that very much. Thank you. There's so many people who recognize in this room, you don't know where to start, but I do want to mention one in particular. Fernando Osornio. In 2 weeks, he's going to be receiving the Congressional Gold Medal as the first dreamer in the history of the United States to do that. Thank you, Fernando, for your leadership. Today, I'm really proud to join in declaring the bipartisan leadership and statewide leadership that led to the stopping of the repeal effort. It took leadership from all sides. It took Texas House Speaker Joe Strauss that came out initially, even with the party dissension that he had because of that. His leadership was very strong. Bill Hamlin, the Texas Business Association, he was there supporting us from the very first day of the session when we were there. They've been very strong in that. We had the faith-based community that was very strong along the way, been very supportive, and been at all our events as well. And of course, the hundreds of the dreamers that we've talked about numerous times today. The personal stories that made the difference, the time and effort that was spent going to Austin, making your personal story known so that you have a face with the term, what 1403 means, and what it means to not just the state of Texas, but to each and every one of you individually, and how that is affecting lives, how it really changes personal lives. We also want to thank the thousands from across the state that contacted their state representatives and made their opinions known. It all comes together. But I'm really proud that Texas has chosen the right path for our future, and that in-state tuition will be a part of our permanent legacy. We do not need to revisit the repeal of HB 1403 again. This session has proven that this is a dead issue. So we need to move forward and not continue to be looking at this session after session. With the advantages that they had this year going into it, with the momentum from the election, and with the change of rules making it easier in the Senate for them to present this bill, for them not to be able to have either house present this and pass, even get to the floor in either chamber, we did a historic feat. And this is all of us together making this happen. So thank you for your time and effort in making that happen. It's time for a new generation, but not just a new age generation, but new ideas. We need a new generation of Texans whose question for the future is, why not me? The Latino Center for Leadership Development will continue to sponsor initiatives reaching a new age of future Latino leaders that are ready to demonstrate that we are ready to lead. There will be initiatives that will be announced. Christina will be posting new initiatives as we come forward, and we appreciate you following Latino CLD and keep us encouraged. Come volunteer. We have a lot of projects that need help, so please be a part of the future. And we're going to be unveiling. There are going to be events in July, and there's going to be a very large unveiling at the Latino Cultural Center in September. We'll make you aware of that. There are going to be some national leaders that are going to be in town for this as well. So there's a lot of exciting things that are going on. So please join us, and so that we can continue working together to move forward for the new generation. Thank you.
We want to thank you all again for taking the time out of your day to come and listen to the story and to these efforts. I'm tempted to talk for about 5 more minutes just because I want to see how long Rafael Lanchilla can stand. He just got out of the session. I know he wants to go to sleep. So, but anyway, thank you very much. We'll make ourselves available, and the Dream will be available for any comments that any of you may have. And I want to do this. Let's just close by giving one more round of applause to the Dreamers and to your success. Congratulations.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.